Hey everyone, Tyler Edlin here is back with Adam Duff,
Greetings.
and we're doing the brush sauce contest or challenge. Moonlight Drifter, uncovers an ancient artifact,
Yeah.
and as you guys can see, there's a ton of entries, so they're going to be quick and to the point.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so I don't even know if Photoshop can handle opening. I think I just
Totally
accidentally
gonna crap
filled
out
in.
on us today. You got like 200 images up on the screen right now. All right.
There is no name, I think, on the file.
No name.
All right, awesome job. You did the right thing by kind of doing some sketches, finding some value. I think a lot of it's just too brush. There's too much texture throughout the entire image. You need to simplify some areas and create, to emphasize more of the focal point.
Yeah. A little
Like
bit.
your sketches are a lot more clear.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want too many things to look too brush strokey. And the other thing I would say is on the left and right side of the image, try to crop it in a little bit because there's a lot of empty real estate there that actually isn't contributing to the narrative. So watch out for that as well.
Like you could even like not have this bright sunlight up here that's a little bit distracting and still use the same lighting. Like and just imply that it's off the camera. That would be good, and then you would definitely want to just minimize all this noise. It's just the sharpness and the texture that's kind of applied. We know they're clouds, but it's kind of just it's overcomplicating things in a way you necessarily don't want.
Yeah.
Anything to add to this, Adam?
I think that lovely brush strokes, lovely organic feel to it. Just a little bit less brush strokey, especially in those focal areas. Tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, keep adding some green accents in here. I think will be good, and then play
Yes.
up the warm areas.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
overall, great job.
Yeah.
And we get the narrative, and it's a cohesive enough.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry, no name. Moonlight Drifter from was that Kina Tech? Awesome.
Right.
So you're doing a lot of things right. You're doing mannequin setups for reference. You're staging your own photography and photo shoots, and I think that's why yours looks so much more refined than like a lot of the stuff we see. And you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah,
So
it
keep
really
that up.
makes a difference. Absolutely. Okay, now as far as critiques is concerned, be a little bit careful not to have too many flat colors. And notice that when you're making a transition from light to dark, there's often a little bit of a color shift. So you don't want to go light beige to dark beige. Maybe a lighter, cooler beige to a warmer, darker beige. And that can actually help enhance a sense of volume in a piece.
So you get a little bit too what I call cloudy or pastel-y. You're using white to tint all your colors when you're going up in value. You still want to get some color in here.
Yeah.
And you kind of use those things to kind of... See, like, you can suggest this color by using a combination of, like, a ton of other colors subtly. Definitely get that in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, her hand reaching over around his face, the one that's got a bit of a bent wrist, that's an important focal point because she's reaching for him. Careful not to put white on white because that's going to mute that focal point. You want to, I would move that hair out of the way to have a nice dark background and make that hand pop out. And be careful with the proportion of his head. It looks a little bit on the small side there too.
Yeah.
Big tall body with a little head. Very common mistake for us cartoonists, right?
And I would keep getting some reference, too, for the fabric and the materials as well. This is like the first step, and I think it's great. But don't be too shy of grabbing other artists' like paintings and other kind of illustrations where people have painted similar subject matter and aesthetics, but have done it really successfully. You can see what the competition is doing in terms of the detail, the finesse, and the level of finish. And I think that's where you're at that level where you need to start pushing yourself over that hump in the road.
Yeah.
But overall, this is fantastic.
Yes, really, really nice. Yeah, it's definitely there's a lot of quality going on in this piece for sure.
Thank you.
The models are awesome.
Yes. All right, Moonlight from Daniel. Daniel wants one of our ones to be more harsh.
Harsh. All right, make it less bad.
These are great. I love these like comic book style
sketches. Yeah,
sketches.
nice.
They have like a lot of life to them, and I think that got lost somewhere in here. Like there's a cinematic moment going on with this, and I get that, but there's something that it's getting a little too washed out too quickly.
Yeah, your values a little bit too washed out with those values. Like if you look at her, the value of her, should be a lot of contrast on her on the darks of her clothing and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Because she's competing with that background in terms of value and saturation.
You have the right amount of simplification and everything back there.
Yeah.
But it's like there's like a slight disconnect with the story overall, because like these guys are clearly heading somewhere. She's looking out something, holding the artifact, but then there's not exactly a payoff in the background of any kind of sort. There's just mountains. So we want to know where they're going, because they're pointing down here, but where is she looking? And we just have like some simple or everyday looking mountains.
Yeah.
And
also,
so there's
sorry, compositionally speaking, notice how she's hugging that left side mountain, which is making a big, very heavy statement on the left side of the image. However, you've left a nice negative space between the ships and the mountain, and I would just take her and shift her and center her. Don't be afraid to frame your focal point, because that's how you create a quick read, right? So if she's hugging that mountain, it's creating a lot of congestion and then a lot of boring negative space in the middle. So just shift her over, and that should help solve that.
And same thing for you, Daniel. Get a lot more reference, stylistically what you want, aesthetically what you want your level of finish to look like.
Yeah.
Throw some of that up there too.
Try to keep some of that loose brush strokey stuff. Study Works by Sargent is a very good example, because your sketches, there's a lot of strength in those sketches, compositionally and drawing-wise. Try to translate that looseness into your painting.
You have a lot of fantastic drawing going on here, and none of that just is coming through with this. You have a very mundane kind of camera, looking focal point, doing the rule of thirds, which there's certainly merits to that. But here you're just losing a little of your steam.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for submitting.
Yeah, thank you for the hard work too.
All right, we got PJ Sirac. Okay, awesome stuff.
All right.
So you got some nice mood and atmosphere going here. Mm-hmm. Ancient artifact with an evil empire coming. All right.
I'm trying to see how the sketch is. Very often in the sketch, you're going to get a more spontaneous idea of what that story's about, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that can get lost in translation a little bit. I think just instinctively, my first impact feeling is it's a very, very cold image overall.
Yeah.
And even if you want to create an image that's justified towards the cools, you need to balance it visually. Otherwise, you're just turning people off of looking at that image because it's too redundant. And there's a lot of this flat, desaturated gray, which makes, with the browns there, which kind of makes for a bit of
these ones.
It's a bit depressing color-wise. So you want to balance that with some contrasts and a little bit of color variety.
Look at some of Nathan Foulkes' color work for some of the animation films he's worked on. And it'll show you how to do nighttime image, how to do a cool image, but without sucking all the life out of it.
Here's a very important point. You're really respecting the image reference that you have on the left side of the image, which in photographic form looks beautiful. But when you're doing your own image, remember your image is unique to the reference. You always have to make a point of stepping away from your image reference, get rid of it, and look at your image as an image and say, how do I feel about that? And tweak it with your own intuition, and that's usually where you fix things. But if you adhere too closely to that reference, you translate the boringness into your image because it's a photograph, right?
Photography is a totally different playing field.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, with the way the camera works, it's a lot different than our eye to work. If you go one-to-one between... You look at any kind of trained painters, scenic kind of painting, with a photograph of the same thing, the painting... is probably going to be better every time in terms of the color, the visual perception, depth of field, and everything.
Yeah.
And so the camera has a real amazing way of flattening things and as well as simplifying the colors.
Yeah. That's why you can always tell when something's been painted based on a photograph, right? It's a bit of a dead giveaway.
But your composition's fine and everything. It's the colors need to get a little bit more harmony, a little bit more life and vibrancy to them overall, and as well as refining the brushwork overall. It's just very, very sketchy and rough. So keep practicing at that, and that will improve in time.
Yeah.
Maladin Hurtado.
What do we got here?
All right, I can see what's going on here.
Yeah.
I know what you were going for.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you look at that, I can see exactly what turned you on to painting using this color scheme. It's that picture of the woman over with the blue dress over on the right. What makes that photograph work? Notice how the warmest and coolest tones, the strongest colors, are in the foreground on her. And if we compare that to the background, we're still getting the same colors. There's a harmony there. We still get color, but they've been knocked back with atmosphere. Now look at your image and notice that you've got that beautiful rich foreground color, but then you don't have that color in the background. You've gone color to gray rather than color to muted color, right? And that's one of the big things that kind of knocks off that harmony in this image.
When you have a nice bold or even saturated color like a yellow here, which is a very strong color, and I definitely think it's been played up. You need to play that up, but you balance that by surrounding it with gorgeous neutrals, and and that's using this purple that's in the background to kind of use that with the yellows to create a really brilliant looking neutral color. But when you add black to everything as it looks, I mean, it looks pretty much like you added a lot of black. You get like this color that is again very stiff and lifeless. And it sucks the painting and the life out of your painting. And I think, going from there, this is like a great source for inspiration, but you're going to want to get some very direct reference on what's kind of happening up front here.
Yeah. And remember that your entire image is one entire harmony, right? So if you look at the two images, the top one is different variations of that magenta, rusty red to the kind of the cobalt greenish blue type of thing going on. But that's present throughout the entire image, including the skin tone. If you look at the bottom one, it's yellows and violets, right? The background and foreground are just different saturations of that same color, but you're maintaining that complementary color scheme. So pay attention to that. What you have is yellow, blue, purple, green, all different kinds of colors, and that's where it starts to get a little bit, you lose control of the color a little bit, right?
Unity with variety, one of the principles of design.
Misery loves company. All right.
Yeah, awesome. Adrian! How you doing?
Nice. Adrian. Okay, which is
Adrian was doing great. I saw this in the hangout the other night, and this is certainly a step up from some of the previous contest entries they've done. And I like this. You got your sketching, your concepting out your characters and your designs, and it's really creative, and I love that.
Yeah.
Don't ever compromise your imagination because you have a great one.
Yes.
Even in color palettes. So this is great.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
So you combining like this dude with the samurai.
Yeah.
With like insect motif is awesome.
Yeah, and it works too. As a design, that really works nicely. Now, what's your opinion on this image, on the painting itself?
I think just like a lot of polish, or just keep pushing your style actually, because you have like a sort of like this illustrated comic book type of look. Look up Trent. What's his last name? Kanuga. I'll leave a link in the description. I can't get his last name right, but he has a very similar aesthetic and approach. He's a concept artist working for Blizzard, and you just want to keep pushing what you have here. Don't take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think value-wise, it's working. Readability, it's working. It's just kind of cleaning up your overall aesthetics in terms of improving the drawing on some of like the characters, and then working out how you can light them. Yeah.
I think Tyler would agree that. You could not possibly push design any further in this image. You are a designer. It's like the god of designers threw up all over your image. That's how awesome it is. The thing that I would say would really add a lot to this image is your posing. Get up off your butt. I say the same thing to my animation students. Stand up and pose, because your poses look very mannequin-y and cardboard, stiff. Yep. You want to actually get some movement,
a little too chill,
into those poses a little bit more, some gesture, because they feel a bit stiff, and that
will bring us as the viewer into the moment.
Yeah, so you don't want to keep those. You don't want to be too robotic with your posing.
Get out the mannequins. Get out the photographs. Harass your friends.
Yeah.
Overact it too. Always overact it so you can simplify when you draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's hard to overact in a painting, just so you know.
Chris H.
Ooh, wow. Okay, nice.
This is nice.
Yeah.
This is like a lot of people thought of the same theme this particular week. You'll see a very similar of a character holding the artifact in the forest getting pursued by other characters.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the sketch on the bottom right, she's glancing over to the left, or her left, right? That is very strong, and you kind of lost that in your painting, looking straight. The left suggests that she's thinking about the guys in the background. She's being pursued, right? I would be a little bit careful with tangents as well. You have a bit of a tangent with the hand and the sword. That can fit in the image a little bit.
Right here.
And saturations. I think that you want to balance those warm tones of the light hitting your face with something that leans more towards a gray to help create a nice saturation balance, because I think it's a little too heavy in those oranges and blues. It's a bit jarring. Heavy.
Just tone it down a little bit there.
Yeah.
But you have a great composition overall. You have a great color scheme and palette going on. It's very readable. I I'm trying to figure out the story between these characters and her though.
Yeah. It feels like she's being pursued or she's trying to hide. At least in the bottom right, I can
Yeah.
sense the narrative being more of she's being pursued and she's trying to hide something in a sense. And the two guys are kind of curious in the background. I read that just by her leaning over in her body language, where you
Yep.
kind of lost that just in the eyes. You kept the diagonal pose in the final, but the eyes are kind of just staring forward blankly in your painting. I would just imitate, take what
Oh,
you
and
got.
I think
Right.
we lost her other arm too somewhere. Like I see it in here.
Yeah, it's true. Eh?
Get
Yeah,
that?
have a little lean in there.
Have that arm coming out because it looks like they're uncovering the artifact from this dead body. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, maybe you need a little bit more motion in these characters.
Yeah, that graphic read, the angles of her hair, all
Yeah,
those
very
angles.
nice.
Don't lose that. Keep that. Stylize your image with that kind of stuff because that's that very strong black and white image. I love that. But then you kind of muted it out in your painting. Don't do that. Keep it. It really works. Nice work.
Let me see. Let me just double check on
Yeah, we got Snake. Snake could have.
Famish Spade Final.
Oh, wait a minute. I know this. I've seen this before. This is I've seen the do it again thing, guy. I think there's like a common theme, a joke going on with that one. Eh?
It's from the other hangouts. They just say when they do it, they got to do it again to get it better.
You start again from the beginning.
All right, let's see what's going on here. See, I'm. There's a lot of clarity I don't think I'm seeing here. The
Yeah.
arm, I'm seeing it. So is this person sitting?
He's sitting. I don't know if that's a hand or a staff. Yeah, it's a bit unclear what's going on there. I almost thought he was.
Do
hugging
it
the
again.
staff. Do it again. Yeah, no, it's not clear. I think.
There's just a severe lack of clarity here.
Yeah.
Like you're like even these images keep referencing things like this. I mean, we all know that's like Gollum from stuff from Lord of the Rings, very faintly. But like this is just like there's a group of people down here, and we have a character here.
Sitting holding something. You know what? Same as everything else. Get your camera timer. Take a picture of yourself with a sheet over your head, or if you're lucky enough to have a cloak, put a cloak on, and take a picture and pose it.
It's got to be more
than
more than this cloak here. Like, okay, that works for your design, but like
Yeah.
that's not going to help you with the lighting. It's not going to help you with the forms.
I always shoot my own reference. Always shoot my own reference. 99, unless I'm very lucky and I can find something online, which is not the case usually. I shoot my own reference. Do the same thing for yourself, and it'll solve all of those problems for you. You won't have to struggle.
Ref.
Yeah.
And that's what
Shoot
this
more fef.
ref.
More
Ref.
fef.
Couldn't even see it because I couldn't. That's what this guy says. So everyone could say a different tip for you, but really just shoot your ref. Don't always be conscious too about designing the composition more or less so it's always split 50-50. Was a big thing I remember last time. Not necessarily for you, but we ran into that issue with a couple people last time. But yeah, keep in mind of that.
Yeah.
Robert Riviera.
Robert Vivek.
Oh, awesome stuff.
Yes. The animator bloke who can draw circles around both of us combined.
Yep.
With a gun. All right, Robert. Let's tear him. Let's tear him to pieces. Mr. Talented.
Keep working on your backgrounds, dude.
Dude, like, what the hell is this? It's like an incomplete image. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like
but
the drawing.
look at those sketches. I mean, lovely sketch. I love the bottom left has that very Frazetta feel to it.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is good, but it's like a whole different part of the story.
Yeah. You know what could really add a lot? I think when you're line drawing, I'm not even going to bother. You know what you're doing there. And it's loose and it's lovely. When you move that into a sketch, start playing around with depth, contrast, like values and depth, right? So I want to get that feeling when I look at this painting that this dwarven warrior is literally leaping right off the page. And to do that, you need to boost the values. You have to push more light on him and push back that background with value.
Yeah, and you can even get like some like cast shadows and stuff in from his beard. You can even take those, transform them into form shadows if you have like the right blender. Which I don't. But like you can start to really work up your forms a little bit, even if you want to keep it a very anime, or not anime, but like an animated type of style. Like you can keep pushing things. Like this is like this could be like a cooler like white overall since the atmosphere, and then where it's highlighted could be that white.
You know what I could strongly recommend to anybody listening? It's a channel I've actually been listening to. I really like. I've been learning a lot from oil painters, and it's this one YouTube channel called Draw Mix Paint. And one of
We'll
them
keep a
talks
link
about
for
color.
that down below as well.
Yeah, he talks about he has one video in particular where he talks about color and exposure, and what he shows shots from films, and he shows you how there isn't a single color in that entire shot, and we're talking live action, that isn't far from white, right? So you want to really make sure that you can hold a white next to any of these and get a very definitive color in the beard, whatever. Even if it appears to be white, it's white in the context of the scene, right? So you want to gives your whole scene a lot more depth and allows you to push your lighting a little bit more at the same time. Even light should be bright yellow or bright red. It shouldn't be white. So just a little food for thought to give more depth to your color.
Richard Graham. Yeah, your drawing's awesome. Just work on your
Wow.
backgrounds and your rendering.
Huh, look at this. A lot of very strong drafts.
Yeah, everyone's upping their narrative.
Yeah. I mean, look at the drawing quality.
I like these movie poster style ones.
Yeah.
And this one. Wait, so I don't know. Honestly, if we're being real, I don't know why you went with this one. Like, these are a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better, dude. Like, this one in particular, this is fantastic.
Yeah. And then when you, like,
Slap!
you have you have this beautiful thumb and these beautiful like compositions just with that, and then you go and you take this looks almost like a
very
nice
static and
2D thing going on.
it looks very awkward. Like, there's the perspective, everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at this anymore. Let's just look at the sketches.
Yeah, you've thought it was necessary to have this 3D background and stuff, but I think your overlapping shapes was enough to create a nice sense of depth and atmosphere, and it was much stronger.
Because we have a nasty tangent here.
Yeah.
There is some severe perspective things going on.
Yeah.
Very folk arty. But yeah, the only thing we get out of this is like we could see a little bit more design of these characters, which they look cool.
Yeah.
You probably need to beef them up just a little bit because they'd be little wiry characters underneath all the suits, like famished little guys. So you had to beef them up. Think of beef them up, like some of what's happening here. But like these are fantastic. This is a great composition. You have a lot more of the values planned out. Where this just feels very flat. Lighting it like almost like that Archer
The
series
texture
from
is
Netflix.
very two-dimensional. The floor is two-dimensional. It's like it's a flat texture. There's no perspective to that texture, right? So stick to what exploit your qualities. Don't.
Yeah.
I feels almost like you stepped out of your element to do that background a little bit. And
even these thumbnails of the same image, I think, are way stronger.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. You go back to your basics.
Yeah, we're both grilling you for this, so it's definitely we're expressing your skill is very noticeable, and your weaknesses are very noticeable too. So make sure to make sure you pay attention to that stuff. Beautiful work though. All right, let me see what we got here. Ooh, this is a very exciting composition. Holy shit!
Yeah, very dynamic again.
The mine in the background. This has a very wow feel to it.
Again, with your style. So I'd keep looking at those artists that are really into that style of art.
Yeah.
His anatomy in this arm looks a little off.
Yeah.
To begin with, but like just saying, like to keep pushing the depth of field with these, you want to simplify even in a light and a lot of what's kind of back here. So you can usually do that with really simple things. Grabbing just some color and then take a little bit of trial and error. Just start bringing that in, and then or do that on a different layer so you can mess with the opacity and the color.
Yeah, that really makes a nice pop.
See, like that. So now we got that blue injected, and what that's doing is pushing the character up, and then we fix the arm. And keep kind of going with this. I think it'll look... Because, like, what's happening now is you have, like, the rocks, his pants, and his shirt and stuff. It's all feeling the exact same color and texture.
And value, yeah. So it's it's really messing with your sense of depth in the image. Absolutely. To the very high contrast textures on the skin, you've got a lot of deep pitted textures with high red. You don't want to do that because what it does is it creates a very pitted surface. Feels less natural. So I would say just try to mute all that.
Keep working on your painting. Your drawing's really, really like off to a fantastic start. Like your drawing skills are better than your painting skills, but that's like a good natural progression. Like you see like a whole different set of problems when the painting is better than the drawing. But keep working on working on the form and the rendering with the painting.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
problem necessarily isn't even in the drawing, unless we're talking about that his strong arm there. This is a gangly one, but you're off to a good start. You have a distinctive style, and I want you to keep pushing that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that would be definitely in your best interest. Okay, where are we next? Find this one.
What do we got?
AA New 2.
AA new 2. AA.
A lot of people did put their
I've
names
seen
in.
this. Who is this? Oh.
Did I grab? Is this yours, Rodney?
Yes, it's Rodney Huskins' piece. Yeah,
I thought it was Rodney's because he
yeah,
told me
of
he
course.
submitted
That's
two
my
of them.
boy. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, because I've seen this. He gave me a sneak peek at it before, so I'm like, I've seen this. Did somebody submit this before? No.
All right, so Rodney wants us to be real with him.
And I haven't helped him with this image for everybody listening. He did this on his own. He didn't get any behind the scenes help with this one. So it's a fair entry.
I think you could. I think this is getting a little too bright and saturated. A little bit flatter.
Yeah.
With your stuff, you go look at how Dave Raposa illuminates some of the bottom of some of his characters in his illustrations. You'll see what I mean. You could probably get a little bit more like a blue, like into the. Oh, my brush just messed up. But like a little bit more of that ambient light on the top forms here, which you can just pick, even from your environment, like that. Getting these in here.
We see with Rodney what he's done is he's got her looking over to the side, kind of glancing over. It's kind of the same as the other one we saw. There's a lynch mob chasing after her in the background.
Which I think you could play up a little bit more.
Yeah, like I would create a composition that opens up those trees to show that mob coming through and adding a little bit more contrast to them so we can read those silhouettes of the people chasing after her. But as it stands right now, it looks almost like torches in the trees. The narrative is a little bit lost because of that. So
that doesn't look like fire, dude. You know it looks like fire. That is not fire. I'm holding you accountable for it. Rodney, you can do it.
Color dodge, dude.
Color dodge. That's the answer. Get like a little bit more of that light kind of going through.
Tyler,
what's up?
Color
dodge.
Fixed. Look at that. You just cover everything with.
That's how I fix everything.
You hide all your flaws that way.
But you can get a lot more subtle color variety. Same thing in the background. Like you just erase it from the character because this is very like you have like you're getting to you're starting to explore some of the color on the character, but then the background still is mostly entirely monochromatic. And you want to get some of that unity with variety in there.
Yep.
Something like that's very monochromatic as well, but like you can play with the colors a lot in this, and I like the atmosphere and the trees are nice, but you can keep pushing a lot of these things.
That little bit of a Dutch angle makes a nice difference too.
Yep.
It balances very nicely compositionally. Just clarity, especially on those background characters, right? Yeah, and just be careful with those saturations.
I would do what you have here in the reference, having one arm pushing some of these branches away, and then one arm, holding this. It would make it a lot more involved.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go to the next one.
The dog is our alarm.
Indy says we are going forward. All right, Emily.
Forward, because he's got a British accent.
Emily, what is happening here? We need some moonlight in this image.
Whoa! A lot hidden in the dark here. Who's this? Who's the artist here?
It's just Emily, I believe it says.
Emily, okay. Well, you win automatically because you got my daughter's name, so congratulations. All right. Yeah, no, a lot. I don't know if that's deliberate or not, but there's a lot. This big dark filter that goes right over the whole thing.
Yeah, I could see like there was something painted in here.
Yeah.
But it definitely got lost in this version that we have, so I apologize if this is not what you meant to submit. But right now we're seeing 70% black.
Yeah. Because I can see you've got a big explosion and you've got glowy bits and you've got your character, but I'm just getting a big flat screen of dark brown.
Yeah, be aware of that. It's just hard. It's hard to critique objectively because we lost a lot of information.
Well, if this isn't a mistake, and let's say you had just kind of muted the background and added some dark to the background, I would recommend not doing that because, as you can see, it's almost as if you've got an image and then you just put a big black tarp on front of it. We can't see anything, so you want to. Clarity is hugely important.
Yeah.
When somebody says the narrative gives you a narrative, you should immediately be able to read that looking at the image. And if everything's obscured in the dark, we're going to lose that information, right?
Keep working on your drawing as well. The arm with the foreshortening and everything, the pose, everything feels a little bit forced.
Yeah,
Not like so natural, like we're observing actors on a stage, which is what you kind of want to aim for.
yeah.
So keep working on the drawing overall, and then throw some values on. If you can't make it read with values, don't bother worrying about color yet. Is what I'm trying to say.
And reference, shoot your own.
Yeah, we need to see
yourself.
next time if you submit again, get all your reference and your sketches in there so we can see that.
Yeah, remember
That way we could tell what you were going for.
Yeah, I tell my students, I say, remember the human species as we know it today is a product of over 2 million years of evolution. So don't have the audacity of thinking you can do it in your head in 10 minutes. Doesn't work that way. You need to be able to reference real life.
Martin Pass.
Ooh, check this out. Dang.
This is nice.
This you could do worse, huh?
Yeah.
Worse. Look at this. Beautiful. It's got a very
I
old...
like your alternate version as well.
Yeah. Okay, number one, we all know about that, offsetting your colors trick. Don't abuse that because it's a bit of a cheesy trick. You don't need to.
It created a bit of a blur
Yeah.
effect that we see, it's like this noisy edge everywhere.
Yeah. And usually, by the way, a little piece of advice. You can look at what's his else? Andy Walsh, I think Andy Walsh. He's an artist, does a lot of sci-fi stuff and stuff like that. It's general. This technique can work for any illustration, but it generally tends to lean a little bit more towards metallic, hard sci-fi type edge work. It's more of a sci-fi trick. You can do it in fantasy, but really mute it down a little bit. Don't overdo that. But I think in terms of the actual image coming in and
the drawing's nice. The composition works.
yeah, it's lovely feeling to it. It really brings me back.
I think overall, just if you're going for like that. Like the real kind of fantasy stuff, imaginative realism. Just keep working on. I mean, I don't know if it's because it's a low submission, but just keep working on your rendering, and you'll keep improving once you keep setting your standards higher and higher.
Narrative wise, too, think of it as a playing card, and you're reading it. The card says Moonlight Artifact. And you're looking at it, I see a glow coming out of a hand. You need some kind of visual hint to show that this is an artifact. Maybe mute down the glow on the artifact or add some glyphs or add some kind of something so that people can immediately go, artifact.
And then you can pull, again, the silhouettes of these guys out more. Like, I just noticed that there's some dudes back here because the silhouettes weren't strong enough.
Yeah.
So consider that as well.
Yeah.
But awesome job, man.
I personally think it's a very successful piece.
You're going in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Nicely done.
Where are we? That leaves us here.
Yeah.
William Jungman.
Jungman. Okay.
Oh, I like this one actually. This is cool. Really cool. So here's the image.
Oh. Ooh.
Which is like really cinematic and neat.
Nice graphic read to it. Excellent.
Yeah, I like that you're thinking kind of on that level.
Yeah.
Like really well.
And you see, you don't have to have 2,000 values to get a quick read. He's really adhering to like almost a 2-value scheme, and look at how nicely that reads, right? I think one of the things that really detracts a little bit from this piece is that over-blasted glow. Because you've got such a
right here.
read. I would knock that glow down by 65-75% and just have it as a light hint. You don't need that blast because it's hiding all that nice info. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
like in here,
right?
like we could see like a little bit more design of what this device is, and it blooms out a little bit too much for being, I think, like a major foreground object. And then you can just go back in, since it's working really well as like a sketch, go back in and really polish it up to kind of bring it into more of these realms that you were inspired by here.
Yeah,
it just needs the hours of polish.
Yeah. Narrative-wise,
it's really cool.
Narrative-wise, I would say I see there's an artifact because we're working on the 2-value scheme. We're losing the fact that that's actually an artifact. I would add a little glow or something to that, some kind of visual information to show that it's an active object in the scene and not just some like art
that purple will make
sculpture
it.
decor type of thing.
Yeah.
You got to see that it's an active object, so you got to light it up and give it some energy type of idea.
Make it feel
And
ethereal.
glyphs, we all love glyphs. Our concept artists love glyphs, so don't be shy to do that.
So you can start to illuminate some of the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then have that be a little more secondary. But this is awesome. Great design skills here.
Nice, man. I like it.
And that brings us to here, I believe. Yeah. Drifter Final Contest from Raphael. Oh, how you doing, man? Adam, start us off. I gotta get water.
Rafael Oliveira. Okay, so we look at the picture. Okay, number one thing that jumps out in my face immediately is saturation. The saturation's a little bit
The saturation monster is wild.
Yeah, he's gone wild. Remember, a balanced, harmonious image generally tends to lean more towards the grays than those heavy saturations on the other side. It's all about playing with the subtleties of color with little nuances of color here and there.
You're way up here, by default, and your image starts to kind of look in the right direction when it's actually really, really far down here on the sliders.
Yeah.
And then you could slightly pick some hints of saturation very subtly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But this is that's the next step for you. Is no, just keep it way back.
Look at it this way. Imagine yourself walking down the street. Full saturation is a dead end. As soon as you hit that full saturation, how close are you to that dead end? Or have you given yourself enough leeway space to progress forward with your color? Study a lot of those master painters. Now, with that said, this is a very cartoony image. The more you lean towards cartoon, the more you're allowed to exaggerate your saturations, but still not to the level that you have. Because then you're just going to exhaust people's eyes too quickly.
Look up some of Jasper Easing's work. I think stylistically and saturation-wise, that's kind of where you want to be at with this.
You know who you can check out too is I've been watching a lot of stuff by Ahmed Aldouri on YouTube. He's got his own YouTube.
How do you spell that?
Ahmed Ahmed Aldouri, which is Aldoori. I've been really enjoying his stuff.
Here, Jasper Easing's work. This is, I think, will be a great fit for you.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, here we go.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, so he's got a little bit of that stylized cartoony feel to it as well. He's got a bit of a blizzard.
But the drawing is also phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's where, we have a lot of the drawing issues in here where the legs are... none of this guy is really working right now. I get what he's there for. He's what he's supposed to be doing. I get the action and the moment of the scene. But, the drawing on him is, so far off from this character.
Yeah. And pose. Again, same thing. Your pose is very from your head. And I can immediately tell because it's a pose that I wouldn't naturally have a pose like this. That's awkward. My body doesn't move that way. In your head, I can see it makes sense. But as soon as you get up, you would open up that shoulder. Your arm would bend in a different direction. You'd have a different expression. Your head would tilt differently. So get up off your butt. Remember, for everybody listening, get up off your ass when you're posing. Okay?
Do it again.
So, start again from the beginning.
Good job, Raphael.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're here. Yeah. Sugan
Moonlight Drifter. Moonlight. Ooh, nice narrative. Hey, good storytelling in this piece. I like.
Yeah, there's some stuff going down. Someone's getting the blame.
Dang.
Really interesting stuff.
Very, very good storytelling skills in this piece. And from an illustrator's perspective, you've almost got... I would look at Rockwell. He's got a very two-dimensional approach to his work as well. And see how
Norman Rockwell.
His compositions and stuff like that. You've hit it. Now, again... Get off your butt, pose, shoot reference to get that anatomy, to get that posing, to start to learn a little bit more about the human body. This is very anatomy from your head, the proportions, poses, muscles, all that kind of stuff suffers as a result of it. So
throughout the entire image.
That's important. Yeah, absolutely.
The lighting's making sense. That's good. Maybe you could tighten up the overall composition a little bit. Overall, make it just bring things in a little bit more. Have that go here. Yeah. Then you can mix this whole side
into the image. Yeah, there you go.
Or this image, and then same thing. It's just bringing us back in. The character is 1/3, the inside's 2/3, 2 to 3, 70-30, much better ratios to be working with.
Yeah.
And keep working up your rendering.
Yeah, the other thing is learn about tangents in art. There's a lot of them in your image. The guy on the right with his arm down, leaning
Yeah, see,
against
I get confused
the
whether
sword
this is
at the
the other
block.
side of the door or is part of the room. That
Yeah,
there's a bit of a disconnect there.
the tangent. What a tangent does is it makes foreground and background elements confusing in terms of their depth. So you want an overlap or a distance, and in that
We
it makes it look like he's a little tiny little creature hanging off the side of the door,
Yeah, we
right?
really need to
So it's
again
sense.
over exaggerate and not fall into these little traps that help
Yeah,
when we try to fake a three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional plane.
yeah,
That's what flattens it and breaks the illusion.
yeah, yeah.
But overall, I think that's going in a great direction.
And again, great storytelling. I like the fact that you put a lot of effort into that. It really shows. Okay,
Chris
let me see.
Brooks. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
How are you doing?
You doing?
Chris what? Sorry, what's his last name?
Brooks.
Brooks. Okay, ooh, nice name. I like that. Tyler, what do you think?
Readability, your values.
Yeah.
We could talk about the composition a lot, but what it comes down to is the values here aren't working.
Yeah. It's dark on dark. It's hard to if Tyler zooms away, you won't even be able to locate your characters most likely. Yeah.
No, like not on this level we don't know what it would be, and then on this level if we were to if we just we take away the colors aren't working either. But if we take away the colors, if we were to simplify this, looking at it, from filterizing, see this is a little bit of what the value structure is kind of happening here, and like this isn't telling us any information.
Yeah.
Ideally, what you want to be able to do is run a low number of the cutout filter on your image and have it still work.
Yeah. Look at
You're
the
in.
images, the two image references you have up on the top, the woman and the guy, and we can read them both, right?
Why? Because their
You-
values are working.
Light on dark, dark on light, and you just create a nice sense of contrast there to create more readability. When it's dark on dark or light on light, you lose it, just like we can see in your image there.
Okay, dark on dark on dark. Foreground, midground, background, it's all dark. There's just not a structure to it. You need to keep working on that structure.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I could recommend Noah Bradley's video on master studies. He did where he goes over the master paintings. He splits everything up into 3 values. Very valuable stuff. I recommend you go check that out
Yeah,
because it'll help illustrate exactly what we're talking
Look
about.
at photos, look at paintings, and just see like how you can break them down visually into 3 different areas or values.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's like a great way to start practicing this sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then, again, you have reference of the canyon. That works, but you need a reference of a canyon at night. You need reference of ships, starry nights, and how things would be illuminated. Keep working on that as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I see photo textures. Don't even bother with photo textures at this point. Photo textures are a little accent at the very end, if at all. You usually end up don't needing it. Don't even incorporate photos into your image. Just draw. Okay? Because the fundamentals aren't there yet. You can photo texture this to your blue in the face. It's not going to improve it, right? So just focus on those fundamentals with your value just now. And you're going to see how much that transforms your artwork in a huge way. So, yeah. Just draw!
Draw all night. All right, here we go. Alyssa. Basie.
It's,
Awesome.
ooh, nice.
This is really cool.
Yeah, a lot
It's
of...
nicely composed, too.
Yeah.
You got like a lot of your colors figured out, your composition. Yeah, this works.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. A little, in certain areas, like I'd say on the character on the bottom left, a little bit too sketchy.
Yep.
A little bit more
Clean up.
going in there. Yeah, a little cleanup. Missing a bit of info there. It feels in those areas where my eyes are really focusing, I'm not quite satisfied with the amount of detail we
And
find.
edges.
Yeah. Clean up
So
those
like you got maybe like a little too warm in here with these oranges and the brown. See, like they're a little too saturated for like this particular area. If you're gonna use a warmer color, you go more into this range because it's popping in a way that maybe it's like a little too disjointed.
Yeah.
But like Adam says, like bring in here for like the character and then around the tree, and like again with the photos, if you're gonna use photos, completely hide the fact that they're a part of your illustration and image. Like this is again sticking out a little bit too much.
Yeah.
When you have these beautifully painted lilies, here you have a beautifully painted tree, and then we got like some photo trees right here, which are like, just like completely taken away from your art.
Yeah. Yeah, consistency with with the objects in your scene, right?
But overall, this reads really well. The colors for the most part are working. You're like almost there. 70-80% there. It just needs a little bit of finesse, and then like a little bit of overpainting with your own foliage and stuff, and then again continue working on the edges overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
And volumes, 3D volumes, especially characters a bit flat, right? You want a little bit of a three-dimensional volume with that.
yeah,
Like,
you like did great on the backpack and stuff. Get
yeah,
that into the character. Every part that's the character just is like completely black and flat.
yeah,
So it just needs that level of attention, particularly since it's the only character in the scene.
yeah. Quality's definitely there, though. It's really nice work.
All right, moving on. We're on Brandon Crampton.
Brandon.
How you doing, Brandon? Thanks for entering
Yeah.
this challenge. All right. So this is working. I see what's happening going here. Your values, I think, are
Yeah.
pretty solid, and your colors have a little bit of variety to them.
Is that it? What is it? A barrage of arrows or something that's flying over?
There's something going on with this story.
It's interesting. I'm trying to see if I can figure out what those. It looks almost like flying
This
arrows.
is the Moonlight
Yeah,
Drifter.
those are arrows.
So that's really cool. She's like,
Oh yeah, there's a few on the ground there.
I like that. No, there's like some simplicity to this, some very, it's like almost like not like a comic book, but like a really cool way of doing like a cinematic here, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to improve anything, it would be a little bit of the muted colors, like up in here, and
Yeah.
the clouds. See, if you take that color, which you have this, you desaturate it, slightly lighten it. I think that will get you something more in the range of what you kind of want underneath here, something like that.
Yeah.
Has that bounce light underneath there, and you can illuminate those forms.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of the volume of those.
And then, design-wise, you have a little bit too much jitter and noise with the mountains. It's like you want to just simplify that, make more broad strokes. So if that's what you had, you want to with these you could do something a little bit more along the lines of not like I have a really terrible brush right now and angle at this, but something a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
You don't have to be as noisy with the end of your line, even though like realistically it may look more like that. But again, we're designing and stylizing reality, and that's how we can kind of get our awesome images. And then like I would say just work out a little bit more this side of the image. I think it just a lot of wasted space right here.
Yeah, it feels a little bit too.
And this is a little too close to the edge.
Yeah.
On this side.
Like you see, like the whole area between the city and the barrage of arrows and the girl. There's like this big divide between the two, and I would just take that and just kind of shrink it in to bring the action closer in together.
Do a crop like
Knock
this.
a bit of the mountains on the left side out. There's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't need to be there. Yeah.
And you can move her like right here.
Yeah.
Like just in terms of space.
Yeah.
And that way you're cutting out all that dead space, all this dead space, all this dead space, and it makes it about the character and this moment here.
Right. When you're directing people to look at an image, you want to entertain people in that space. And if it's kind of like somebody over there, with all this negative space, it creates for an empty feeling. It's a set designer faux pas, unless you wanted to do something cold. Like that kind of composition would work in a jail cell, right? It's coldness, sparseness, that type of idea. So try to think.
This is really cool.
Packed. Ooh, check this out. Nice.
I like this idea that you're getting from the the Metroid and everything.
Oh my god, yeah, that's
and
so
the light. Really cool. This is just coming off of like a little bit too you glazed some yellow or orange over a monochromatic painting or a value painting where it needs a little bit more attention, I think, to the color itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Leaning too much towards just a monochromatic gray. Yeah. I'd also be careful. Well, a lot of people do this. The girl with I'm guessing it's a girl, or the character there with the cloak. Mm-hmm. Just adding a rim light is not enough to create a sense of three-dimensional volume. A lot of people just try to make the character pop, but they're not realizing that this is a three-dimensional form. So adding some kind of a light hitting the back of the character to create that nice sense of rounded,
like some of this
right?
Blue, green, or purple, like getting a little of that into the character will help offshooting a lot of these forward-facing forms.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like your narrative is really amazing. The overall composition is working really, really well, And I like, for the most part, the rendering is heading in a fantastic direction as well.
Yeah. This is a very
This is working on very many levels. That's why, like, okay, we can start nitpicking some of your color choices. And then, of course, if that's metal, get those highlights in there. Get some very material-specific reference at this point to keep pushing this forward.
Yeah.
Right, we're at John's. Hey, John, I hope you got a lot of drinks on your birthday. It was his birthday on Thursday.
No, happy birthday.
He was going to have a party.
Yeah. So now that I'm over, let's add some critique on top of it.
This is working out good, John. The character's looking pretty solid, too.
Yeah.
Maybe if, like, a little too monochromatic with the blue and a lot of this. Like a little more variety in there.
A little bit monochromatic. Secondly, again, there's a lot of the negative space happening. That tree you have up on the top left, number one, a little bit you abuse those texture. I know I have those brushes in my palette, right?
This one.
But you've abused those texture palettes both on the bottom, the leaves on the floor. It's okay.
It's working here.
Yeah, but a little bit. Be careful to flip it or scale it because I can tell you can kind of like you just kind of snap those. I would overlap that tree on top of the ruin on the right left side to create a sense of depth and close in that image a little bit more. Secondly, I'd bring a little bit more, try to bring some of that complementary into the piece or something to create a bit of visual balance because it's overall a little bit too much on the cool side. It's a bit cold as an image. So yeah, those are my two main critiques.
He wants us to be hard, though. He wants us to be hard. Yeah, I think the background could use a little bit more intention with it. It very just wishy-washy, like a 90s cartoon. You could paint a little bit without going into detail. Is what I'm saying. It's just like a little too abstract for what's happening here. You could get a little more design. This, I know, even though we want to fake the depth of field, is maybe still a little too blurry.
Yeah,
and soft as well. Yeah, I think...
Well, compositionally, you could, instead of just having these kind of random clouds, as Tyler was saying, actually create a nice, strong read. Again, Rockwell. I mean, John took my course, so he knows what I'm talking about when Rockwell, as far as framing your composition, he's got the head there. Drive the eyes to the head with a nice opening in the clouds or something like that, right? It can also help us bring in some color depth and around the character to help.
See, I think the trees, like, close off the composition too much. Like, you could have the trees... by contrast, like over here.
Yeah.
And some of those bushes, and then open up this side a bit more, and then just, indicate the direction over with like some strong bushes. But like open it up. If it's closed over here, open it up on this side.
Yeah, absolutely. And the tree too. That tree on the left side is also too controlled.
Yep.
Nature is not that controlled. It's not this nice little trimmed poodle, right? We want the leaves. It's a branch with a bunch of leaves that come out. Get some of that nice, interesting form that comes out in natural trees, right? And
hey, Vincent,
it's just a circly thing, right? Bring in some real organic form into those trees. Study how trees grow is the best way to solve that. It'll help you understand exactly what I'm talking about there.
So this is a cool idea, and I like your story. And I like you're designing a whole race of people and stuff.
Yeah.
But
worked. Yeah.
You didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Not even to your own level. We're, as you can see, we're getting to the point with the group where we're getting, like on this one, a decent amount of people. So to give everybody a fair shot, at least submit something that you would consider finished.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, maybe this is
everybody, not just. I'm not trying to pick on Vincent, but if you clearly know you didn't finish a piece, don't submit it. So we can only, help you at your highest threshold.
Or label it work in progress, just so that people don't misinterpret that as a final or something like that, for sure. But with that, if I take the characters out of the piece and I just look at the rendering of the clouds, the style, the design is beautiful.
Very stylized.
I love the look of those clouds. That has a nice feel to it. And I'm sure if you just apply more of that to your characters, I'm pretty sure this is a work in progress. If you applied more of this to the characters, you got something really cool.
Because these designs are all nice and everything. It's just what we have of these characters that you didn't get to yet.
Also, a lot of negative space, and I have no clue. There's no narrative in here at all. There is no relic. I don't see a relic. I just see random characters.
There's these watchers that are... They leave their Kingdom Behind.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I just look. I
Yeah.
just random characters and creatures.
Yeah, it's not quite as accurate as what you're showing here. If it's like
Yeah.
Adam missed the whole part about the story, and now he's like trying to make sense of that, and it could certainly use some more clarity.
You're saying there is a relic in here?
I know. He said the idea says there's a relic in there.
Okay, yeah, but I'm not. I should be
Yeah.
able to immediately identify with that in the image. And here, what I'm really seeing is this stylized kind of skater style cartoon drawing girl walking over on the side with some other figures in the back, and that's all I'm really getting out of this. I love the style, but I'm not getting any narrative to it. So,
Keep thinking about that.
label it as a whip. We'll get that because it definitely looks like one for sure. But I love their style.
All right.
What do we got?
The name right here. Leva.
Leva. Okay.
Thank you for submitting this.
Shouchu Naite.
Full storyboard and animatic, but he won't. But they won't actually animate it. Okay, so this is cool.
Drawing style.
Look
Yes.
at see that's building a nice palette,
Beautiful.
a unified palette right here.
I like this. Very much like that drawing. I love your nice use of weight and gesture on the
This
line.
is making
Exquisite.
a simplified value structure work.
Yep. Works beautifully. Do we have a
Brooks.
final or do you have a final on this?
That's something
beautiful.
like this. So this is supposed to show the idea with the camera panning and how this is really complex and cool.
Yeah. There's
I like that. Like it shows the idea of the room and structure, which is very awesome.
Okay.
So we'll just look at this then.
What's our artist's name here?
Leva.
Leva, okay. You have a very nicely controlled composition, very vertical, very noble, very authoritative type of, almost like Greek architecture type of thing going on, okay? The characters in and of themselves are where you get your movement in this shot. That's the power of the shot. So the fact that you have one character kind of leaning forward and the other one kind of leaning on an elbow, you've lost the pose. That gesture, the sweeping lines moving towards each other, that's where you'd find the real power of the scene, and you lose it in your character with the cloak because it's a very generic, non-gesturally pose.
Yeah, they're gonna have like the what I think Adam's saying is like having that cloak coming up, flowing more like this.
Yeah.
And then if you were to angle like the character as a whole, maybe like you could show some more movement in the character.
Yeah, a
kind
more
of dashing.
definitive line. Even if you look, Tyler, even if you look up at the one she's got at the top with the nice kind of sweeping C curve that comes out like that at the bottom,
Up
it
here?
creates a sense of diagonal movement. Yeah, I would for instance, the swan image you've got there with a bit of that swoop to the cape. I would just exaggerate that so that you have a little bit more of a diagonal moving forward that kind of pushes the characters in towards each other. It's giving you more of a diagonal swoop to your line because that's something you want. Like that is your strength in your drawing. Exploit that.
It's a very cool idea. I'd like to see
Yeah.
what you could do if you could make this like a mock-up of like a finished still from the animation though.
Yeah.
Overall, this is still like the design is very good, but the presentation is very rough.
Yeah.
So
And
I'd like to see like that as like okay, that's totally like a still from the movie, and that would look amazing.
Yeah, and you can even see he's got the camera move in there.
Overall, very awesome, Leva.
And frame your characters, right?
Yep.
You've got the character on top of a pillar. Move the character into the negative space. That's where our eyes expect to see it, right? You have more impact that way.
Hey, James.
Nice use of reference. James
Yeah.
what, sorry? James Nichols. Okay. Ooh, okay.
This is cool. See, this is what the idea when we say reference some paintings and some illustrations that have captured the detail and the look and the feel that you want to go for.
Yeah.
Because then he could see one for one what he needs to do
Yeah.
on that kind of level, in addition to the photographic references.
Yeah, and you can see how that kind of reference translates into a piece of quote unquote fantasy art quite successfully too, right?
Yeah.
I think you've got a lot of the castle up on the top, and it kind of pushes your character down. Try not to split up your canvas 50-50. Tyler's always picking on people for being a little bit
that's what's
with
happening
that
here.
portion. Split it up. Go like 2/3, 1/3 type of idea or something. Have that character occupy more of the thing. You won't be cramming that hand into the image. You'll have a little bit more of arm, get some fabric for drama, that kind of idea.
If we take this guy, this will be like a lot stronger if we just nudge him up.
Yeah.
Like this whole,
There you go. See?
like something like there.
Yeah.
And then, this could either be the bottom of it, and then you just redraw some of the structures up here.
Yeah.
But like now it's about him.
Yeah.
And then you can see like this. We got the nice kind of cool lights, accenting.
Yeah.
Some aside from the moonlight, you can get that in there.
Yeah, you can
really start bathing this light over the forums.
Yeah.
And getting into his whole pose and his story, and then of course refining him. Because like he's looking really good, but then the rest of it looks very very sketchy. Like if you go for card art or this type of illustration, this would be considered too loose to most art directors.
Yeah, and look, you can see in the piece by Shara, I can't read that last name.
I can't either.
Durtheno. Okay, look how that light source is very definitive. Imagine what you could get if you boosted up the brightness of that moon, and had like shafts of that god light of the moon shining through the castle.
A little more saturation.
Shining down on your character, right? Lighting is, like they say, cinematographers paint with light. Use that light as a way of adding texture and life and energy into a piece. It's interactive with its environment. It's not just a placeholder. So play with that light. Have fun with it. Because that's how you're going to inject a lot of...
You can just talk over while I'm trying to manage all this other stuff. That's why it's a good team effort.
Yeah, check this out, man.
To get it done so close of time. All right, what's their name? BST MD. Okay, MD.
MD. All right, MD.
I've seen this one. This is very nice. Very nicely drawn. I love this composition here.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
Sketch, too. Lovely work in that sketch.
Like, this really works. I think it does work for the most part. Like, we can look at this and we know what's happening.
Yeah.
I think this works better, in my opinion, bringing us down, in and behind the character.
Huh.
Not that to say that this doesn't work. I just, personal preference-wise, I think this is a stronger option. Because what's happening here for me, we have this nice kind of three-point perspective camera angle and stuff, but then we have like these rocks over here.
Right.
All these rocks are very flat and they seem arbitrary in comparison.
Yeah.
Like they're really encroaching on the space here and almost creating like a tangent that's just overlapping the structure that's this.
Uh-huh.
Which is why I just preferred this one better. I think it was a better design.
Right.
Even though this is extremely accessible and it reads well, it's just, I think, more problematic.
Yeah. Also, compositionally, that wizard character you have is an important. He is the character, right? And
you don't see him
you've crammed it into this negative space with a chain on top of him, and you're kind of creating a very claustrophobic acting area for him.
Yep.
So I would personally take that chain out or move it to open up that space for him. Maybe scale him up a little bit, or just try to open up that area a little bit more so he's not. You're not cramming him into a tight space.
If you had him.
Yeah, look at that.
Up in the foreground on an element, simplify everything around him. That's better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, it's a great job. You have really nice rendering here, and you're starting to get that right amount of level for tightening things up.
Narrative-wise, we don't see artifact, right? We see a place where an artifact might exist, but we're not getting that artifact. So remember, you got to stick to the narrative, because if you were doing this professionally, the director would say, "Where's the artifact?" That's what this piece is supposed to be about. So remember,
the moment, the action, the pursuit.
Right up in on the action. Yeah.
All right, here we go, John.
Van Helsing being chased by Nazgul. Very nicely.
This is starting to work.
Yeah.
The colors are still a little wish-washy in terms of they're just running. You want a little more control over them. It very much looks like we took the black and white and we just overlaid a lot of color, and that's how it just looks. So we have to be very conscious and very deliberate with our color choices and our mark making in terms of our brush strokes and our overall control. The other issue, I think, this is just almost pure white, and it's totally washing a lot of that background out. I just don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. I don't have much to add to that. I would just maybe say be careful with your volumes. Like, for instance, that the cloaked figure on the dragon up at the top, he's kind of missing the back of his head a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so
I see that.
Things like that. Just be careful that when you have like a cloak or something, there's a body under that cloak. So take into account that anatomy underneath. Yeah.
A lot of just like a lot of the texture here. You're gonna need like you've set yourself up to a high standard with a high challenge in regards to the content of this image. You have a city, you have a character running, and an animated character. You have a creature design. You have another character design. You have a lot that needs to be resolved here. Not just like in terms of what you have to render, but what you have to think about and execute. There's a lot on your plate. You took a lot to dinner. Now you got to finish it up. Is what I'm saying. So you need to like really figure out how you're going to render all these forms. This is completely flat. This is a completely flat shape with like a few like lines that substituting form for drawing, and that needs to be resolved as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is cool. The narrative is working. The composition's working. You just need to work on the rendering and how you're going to tackle some of your issues here. Anything to add, Adam?
No, well, you pretty much summarized it. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, Antoine. All right, an awesome stuff. Great reference. I think our third or fourth drifter in the forest.
Antoine actually has the outfit, the bastard. He actually owns the outfit. I'm always doing this with like sheets and broomsticks. He's actually got the outfit. You got the whole rogue thing going on. That's awesome. Hence, it translates nicely into the finished piece too.
I think you're getting a little flat with your forms up in the head.
And that's actually the camera. That's actually the lens on your camera. I don't know if you used to. I don't know if you did it with yourself.
Even with this reference, you could see more of the forms. Like, that if we take that lighter blue, you have, well, in this case, that was a bad.
Well, here, Antoine, if you look at the picture, you've got the lighting is coming from the front, right? Which is fine. I mean, that's good for understanding the form. But in the case when you have a challenging angle, you want to see the shadow of that jawline to help distinguish that angle of the face. Mm-hmm. So try to find a lighting situation that helps highlight that three-dimensional form from that tricky angle. Otherwise, you just get that flat lighting, and it's hard to understand the form. That really is the
he also feels very stiff in terms of how he's standing here.
Yeah.
This is where I'd reference some of Frazetta's poses and stuff to really, twist, more twisting on the waist, more even twisting kind of up here in the chest. Mm-hmm. You get more motion into your guy. So we have like the form up here, everything's very aligned. And if we look at the human body where we can articulate our points, we can get a lot more movement and motion into things.
Yeah, and in the vein of Frazetta, you're giving yourself a challenge. A third-person perspective on a human form is a very challenging thing to do. It's great that you referenced it, but when you're posing, look towards playing with the towards and away from. It's not just about solving a pose. It's about the actual. If you look at Frazetta's work, his characters are always coming out of the image. It's an in and out thing, not a side to side thing. So pay attention to that as well. That way, the globe can be right up in your face. So you get that nice sense of depth, right? That's one of the advantages of going third-person perspective.
I think you got the color variety correct, like on this sack and stuff, but I'm not seeing this beautiful variety anywhere else. Like, this is very monochromatic, using too much white to tint, and again, too much black to shade. When you have like some beautiful variety starting to happen here, take that, bring it through the rest of your image.
Professionally speaking, too, you'd probably be asked to put another detail pass on a couple of those things, like the cloak and the pouch and all that. Try to define what that pouch looks like. Get some of the stitching and edges into there, just for the sake of solving it. Because if it's too flat, you'd be asked to fix that, right?
You would. We're just being real.
Yeah, keeping it real.
MD.
Are we on our last one? I can't believe we've actually made it. Holy smokes! All right, so we got something totally. Now, relic. Where's our relic?
It's happening here. This is the Moonlight. The Drifter's coming out. They're either coming in to recover something. So you can also tell that it's a story moment because he's got a reflection in his visor. The gun's pointed at the camera.
Oh, okay. I see what's
And I think the cart here is hauling the artifact. And they're trying to get him into the Moonlight Drifter pod here to escape, and these guys are pursuing them. This is actually working extremely well.
Yeah, okay, no, I didn't get that. That's totally cool.
I just pieced it together.
Yeah. Compositionally, we saw exactly kind of the same idea with the one there with the arrows, the barrage of arrows. There's a lot of negative space between location and destination. Bring that in more. Your character's really hugging that mountain on the left, right? play with that negative space to create a more clear
Just a
read in
little
your
bit.
composition. Yeah.
And maybe bring him over just like a tad, just a tad.
Yeah,
You can
I'm
drop a
sure
little
Tyler
off.
would also pick on your over obviousness of the texture on that sand as well. You know, like
I
you want.
think it's not that bad. I would just paint a little more on top of it.
Yeah,
Just like a few more deliberate rocks, and maybe you need like a mixer brush or one of those real bristle brushes, and get just a few more of your own brush strokes just to
yeah,
integrate it well. Because like it's very obvious, like here that this is very painted, and then it's very photo-y very quickly.
yeah,
And then you have like the right kind of reference. I get a little more. This just I think needs a little more design overall. It's very square, very boxy altogether. And a little flat in some of these shadow areas. See, we can like totally illuminate this form in here. We paint that blue instead of black.
yeah.
Same with like a lot of this. So like this just feels very boxy and a little not quite as designed as something like this. So you could have more gauges, more pumps, more hoses, more shocks, and then break up like because all I could see when I look at this honestly is a box.
Yeah.
So you want to make it look cooler, the rule of cool. Think of how can I make this look cooler? Sell it to an audience. I think this is brilliant that you got some of the light illuminating there. You could probably tone that down a little bit and play a little bit more with that glow. Figure out some more references in terms of like how this glowing object in here can be played up just a little bit. But overall, this is like a fantastic idea and composition for this moment of storytelling. I like it.
Yeah, very much so. Very much. All right.
That's everybody.
We've done it. So now
All right, so we're here again with our two favorites from this month's entry, and overall, a great job to everybody that entered. And not these two just had a little bit more of what we were looking for. They're getting there a lot more. The consistency in the presentation, which is like everything. You could have any style you want works, but it's the consistency of that, and again, presenting our idea and the illustration and sticking to narratives. That's what we're looking for, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But these two are certainly our favorite. I think they're very successful in their own rights, and these two artists are working their ass off to get there.
Yeah, and everybody has,
Everybody.
beautiful work from everybody, but it's just really it all comes down to did you solve the questions that were asked of you, right? And these ones really do nail it. Really do nail it nicely. So hats off to the winners for sure.
And John again. So awesome, good job, guys. Now, if you're watching this after the fact, just keep an eye on the events page for the brush shots. Adam and I do these monthly. There's also, I think, a intermittent contest that you guys have started on your own. I think Rodney runs that, which is awesome. So everybody keep up the great work. All right.
Yeah.
We'll all grow together.
Beautiful work, guys.